Today we'll, in this session, talk about the design perspective on the Internet of Things devices. Essentially, all of you have heard about IoT. Some of you may have been already working in this area as well. And we all have seen highly credible research reports from various companies that talk about huge projected volumes of IoT devices and interconnected devices in the world going forward. It is said in some of those research reports that the devices, interconnected devices, will go up to 50 billion by the year 2020, and that's a crazy number out there. The numbers range from 12 billion to 50 billion, so I've just taken the most pessimistic number out there in terms of interconnected devices. We all know that it's an interplay of hardware, software, and telecom, and it has already in some sectors, especially business and enterprise, it has already started driving certain intelligent solutions. As we go along, the real-time inputs from sensors, people, and systems, will interconnect with each other and essentially provide us real-time data for better decision-making ability. So when we think of IoT as practitioners, for us, it basically means two things. It will be a user utility with a device and data that will be valuable to the enterprise or the government. In between, there will be a framework with how this data gets transported essentially. But for us, the dollars lie between giving the right user experience and to be able to manage the voluminous data these sensors provide. Today we will, in this session, focus more on the design of the device. And as we all know, design is a multi-stage problem-solving process, and essentially starts from a problem or a need which is stated or could be unstated as well, or a device which is put up in a sports stadium, which is collecting or broadcasting some information. Such devices will need to be designed so that liquid ingress, dirt protection, etc. They may have to weather some, inclement weather as well. So those have to be critically reviewed, while the design happens. The frequency of interaction this device needs to make, with the backend or with the node, etc., that needs to be taken care of. Think about a pulse sensor which is sending data every second versus, a device that sends water table height data once every year, back to the backend. The devices should undergo minimal maintenance. The battery should last long, for example. Most of them will be in an always-on condition, so they have to be really energetically efficient, and they have to be interoperable with the multiple, mesh of networks that is coming along. So far, in this area at least, there isn't a set of standards in terms of interoperability between devices. We have to have, one vendor's door lock talk to another vendor's refrigerator, or a third vendor's home automation hub, to be able to provide the user experience that needs to be there from these devices. In terms of experiential considerations, these devices need to be easily deployable. The commission has to be easy, and they should be easily serviceable as well, if the need arises. Some of these devices are worn by people. We would have had some wearables devices, this discussion in the morning. And such devices need to be very intuitive in their operation. They should be fun, they should be engaging. Form factor for IoT devices is a very critical consideration. Most of the time, these devices will be very small in their overall form factor. The human-machine interface, especially for wearables, needs to be carefully considered. Material that you use, for example, for doing the design, should be hypoallergenic. What are the kind of visual and auditory signals that the device is giving to the user. All of these things have to be taken care of while doing the design process. Goes through a CAD process where the right selection of material for the design happens, the right manufacturability analysis happens. The materials that are typically used may include plastics, it could be metal, it could be leather, it could be an interplay of multiple materials. With various protection levels, in terms of liquid ingress or dirt, for example. Along with it, in parallel, the hardware design happens where, as you are aware, schematic entry will happen. And from there, the process will move on towards PCB design, fabrication, and then prototyping again. While this is happening, software, happens in parallel as well. Multiple modules, which could be board support packages, it could be apps, it could be middleware, that needs to be done for transport and for connectivity. And a logistics track which takes care of the supply chain, to make it all happen in terms of different components availability, memories, ICs, plastic materials, so on and so forth. So all of these tracks run in parallel and they converge together at the board bringer process, where the testing and the functionality of the device is tested, and then mechanical assembly, prototyping, and then the process moves into optimization cycle, after which it goes into mass production. I think the session after me will take care of some of those aspects as we go along. Putting it all together in terms of device design. So essentially there are four main pillars that we need to worry about for an IoT device. These are power optimization, sensors, connectivity, and embedded processing. Power optimization is the key here for these designs because, as I said, most of these devices will be always on. They are a small form factor and do not allow you to plan for more than adequate battery capacity. Typical power optimization will happen across the board, in hardware, in software, the firmware that you write, etc. Some of the things under consideration include interfaces it offers, what kinds of deep sleep, wake state it offers, etc. So those are the considerations when you start selecting MCUs. Same goes for sensors as well. We select typically the bare minimum capacity in terms of the performance and the interface required, in terms of MCUs. Different interfaces and indications that are typically there on IoT devices include any LCD or an e-ink display, for example. LEDs for visual indication, battery is low, the LED blinks. Some kind of an audio input or a vibration input as well. The batteries that we typically use, could be rechargeable or non-rechargeable. There are various that are available in the market these days, lithium-ion, lithium polymers. You would select them on the basis of cost, on the basis of aging, for example. Lithium-ion will not last that long, lithium polymer will, the higher number of charge cycles, etc. And non-rechargeable, again depending upon your form factor and size, could be coin, could be AAA batteries, could be any other standard available batteries as well. Issue with lithium-ion, lithium polymer, or nickel metal hydride batteries is they are custom built for a specific dimension, for a specific capacity, and as such will not be available to your end users. So in terms of easy availability of batteries, we sometimes think more about using coin cells or AAA or AA cells in our designs. The software optimizations will include controlling, switching on and switching off the various hardware blocks during period of inactivity. So you could shut down the processor where it's not required, keeping, let's say, only a radio on off your Bluetooth module. Or it could be a deep sleep that you would put your sensor in, wake it up as and when it is required. So those kind of optimizations need to be done for achieving the optimal power usage in your device. Embedded processing, we talked about the MCUs with various different sleep states and all of that. Your MCUs need to be small footprint. Nowadays CSP packages are available for most of the MCUs. They need to have a rich and robust mix of I/O interfaces, a high enough integration available, whether it's with connectivity. There are some large players which are trying to drive the connectivity and in a certain manner. Hopefully over the next couple of years, there will be a much more stable standard available in terms of interoperability between devices. But today we are seeing that some of these businesses have already adopted certain of these connectivities, as standards. For example, in healthcare or portable and lifestyle segments, we are seeing Bluetooth Low Energy being used as the predominant connectivity mechanism. For industrial control and home automation, we are seeing Wi-Fi and ZigBee. And there are interesting times ahead for interoperability. I think we'll cover this in the next session probably. Afternoon. Move on. There are multifarious sensors now available, and that's an ever-growing list. I mean, right from sensors that could work for smart cities, to smart agriculture, to smart retail, to smart education. There are multiple sensors that are now available, and many more that are going to come up in the very, very near future. And these are all built to specific application, and essentially they serve as the core of the IoT product in terms of sensing and then sending data. With this, we come to an end with a quote from Steve Jobs. And essentially, to recap, to put it all back together, it's about doing a product where power optimization, form factor considerations, sensors, and connectivity all come together.
Thank you, Parag.